Man, guys, you remember a couple of times I came on the platform and I said, guys, as black people, man, we need to learn from what is happening in Orania. We need to learn from Orania. I remember the custodians of blackness, they came on this platform and they basically crucified me for telling black people that, guys, we need to learn from Orania. People told me that, Thomas, you know Orania is a racist place. There's nothing that you can learn from Orania. Those people there in Orania, they will never even allow you in as a black man. We don't know why are you dancing so much for the people of Orania, because these people are not going to welcome you in that land, man. But it seems like that myth that the people of Orania will never accept anyone outside of their race is getting destroyed month by month. You remember recently, Gayton Mackenzie and his whole team, they went to Orania for 24 hours and they got nice treatment. And Gayton Mackenzie came back with a review and told the South Africans that, man, things are working in Orania. There is no crime in Orania. There is no pothole in Orania. Those people, man, are not under the African National Congress, but those people, man, they know how to govern themselves. Those people, they love their communities. They clean their communities. And this is the reason why I said, man, we need to start learning from the people of Orania. I remember I did a video again showing that small documentary of the morning shot, showing the people that, guys, this is what is happening basically in Orania. People came again, man, and they crucified me for telling black people that, guys, we need to learn from Orania. People basically crucified me. I'm hoping that after this video, I'm going to be able to play that documentary again of morning shot, or where they basically went to Orania just to show us how things are in Orania. So recently, Penuel, his brother, and his whole team, they decided to do the unthinkable. And this is the reason why the custodians of blackness are so mad at these people, because these people, man, did the unthinkable. They went to Orania to see how things are happening in Orania, to come back with a positive review. How dare these people, man, go to a functional place, come back and tell South Africans that place is functional? How dare they?
Understand, you can go buy land. They bought it from your government. It wasn't like secret, it's still, they bought it from the government.
I mean, like, the fact that the people of Orania, they bought that land. This is one narrative that black people need to understand in the country. The people of Orania, they bought that land. You remember how angry Gayton Mackenzie was at that journalist, quote unquote, of ENCA, trying to gaslight him, trying to make it look like the people of Orania went there with the guns and chased out black people and start occupying those lands. Gayton Mackenzie told her that, man, your government sold those people that land. Your own government allowed those people to have that land. Your own government allowed for those people to have their own municipality. How can you come here and cry to us simply because we went to visit Orania? Why don't you say anything to your government that has allowed Orania to exist? Man, you know, this is just an information that you can find on the internet, man. Simply click on the internet, you can find all of these things. But it looks like our people, man, are not even interested in doing their own research. Our people are more interested in listening to politicians. They are more interested in listening to politicians. That's why every time when you tell people about how we can learn from Orania, the first thing, even the answers that you'll get the answers that you normally hear from the politicians. Because politicians in South Africa, they hate Orania because Orania reminds them of what South Africa could be like. Politicians in this country, man, they hate Orania because every time they look at Orania, they say South Africa could be like that. And because of us, South Africa is a shithole country.
They bought it from the government and then they started building on these farms. A lot of people that live in Orania are people that bought into the farms around that area. It wasn't just move blacks from this area. There weren't people there. It was a farm that was auctioned, and that's how they started building.
Yeah, look, I don't want to steal some of the content because I had two really dope podcast sit-downs with yours Stredo, the uitvoerende hoof van die Orania beweging, and meneer Karel Boshoff, who is the son of Professor Karel Boshoff, who's one of 2/3 founders of Orania. I think Dr. Chris Jooste is another one, and I forget the other person's name, but I'll try and get it. I'm not sure if it's Dirk Human. I might be mistaken there. A lot of angry sentiments, and look, maybe let me take a moment, because I don't want us to entertain the negativity. I understand why people are angry. And it's not for me to explain. I'm not Nelson Mandela. We didn't sit at fucking Codesa. We're not the ANC government who negotiated and got BEE shares like your president Cyril. We understand the anger and how...
But to be honest, that anger basically comes from the politicians. Because if you think about it, if the politicians were honest with the people in the country, there wouldn't be anger towards Orania. If the politicians in the country said, guys, of course, we know that some of you may not understand this whole concept of Orania, but we did it. We allowed these people to have that space. Those people, they gave us money, we gave them the land, and they can do basically what they want with that land. And today, the people are mad at what is happening in Orania because the same politicians, are not being honest with them. So this is why the people are so mad at the concept of Orania. This is the reason why people will not even look at Orania, because the politicians lied to them. So their anger, it is not justified. And the fact that we have all this information around about Orania, I don't understand why people are still angry at Orania. I mean, I used to be one of those people, man, who used to be angry about Orania. Those people are racist. Those white bulls are racist. They will never even allow a black person in. I used to be like that until I started learning about Orania, until I started reading about Orania and what is really happening in Orania. Then I understood that, man, even if I am angry, those people, man, they are legal there. Those people haven't done anything illegal to be there. They are legal to be there in Orania. So this is why my anger towards Orania, man, was vanished immediately. As soon as I started learning about Orania, my anger towards Orania was vanished. And I think this is what people need to do. I don't understand why people are so mad at what is happening in Orania. When you have all of this information about Orania, I can tell you today, if half of the people who are mad about Orania can actually read about Orania or understand what is happening in Orania, those people will not be mad at Orania anymore. They will not be mad at Orania anymore. Because if people really wanted to be mad, they needed to be mad at their own government. If they wanted to be mad, if they really wanted to be mad, they need to be mad at their own government. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Polarizing a place like Orania is. We understand how it could trigger certain emotions, how it could inflame some of the thoughts that we have around white supremacy, Afrikaner nationalism, racism, people that experience Afrikaans racism every day. There are so many nuanced and different shades of what Orania is. There are many white Afrikaners that hate the concept of Orania. They don't think it will ever succeed. To a point where I think it's the build, if I'm not mistaken. I took pictures of caricatures. You know, Zapiro does these cartoons, I think in the Sunday Times, where he normally laughs at our politicians. The build had these caricature cartoons back in the day where they thought this thing of going to live in the desert was a stupid idea and it was never going to work. Yeah, Orania as a place is not liked by a lot of people, understandably so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the people of Orania really have a craving to get the world to understand. I don't necessarily think you need to agree. I don't think you must clap hands and, you know, you can still be angry, etc. But it's for you to understand. It's not apartheid land.
I mean, like, that is the thing. People will not be able to understand if they are angry at the concept. They will not be able to understand. So you say that people, it is justified for them to be angry, but you just want them to understand. They will not understand. And the reason why they do not understand, it is because they are angry at the concept of Orania. So we need to get people to get off that anger towards Orania and start understanding what is happening in Orania. This is what needs to happen. I honestly don't think that people can understand what is happening in Orania if they are still mad at what is happening at Orania.
For you to understand, it's not apartheid land where black people were shafted off. If anything, it was a ghost town. It was set up initially to build one of the dams there. There were engineers and other people brought in. They built some basic houses. Once the dam was complete, the people left the houses and it dilapidated. And then over time, they decided to auction that piece of land. It was 800 hectares. And then the three founders decided to then bid for the land. After bidding for the land, they came second. The number one bidder couldn't come up with the money, so then they offered them. This was not money that they had. They were academics, you know, they were professors and academic fellows. They went to different people and they fundraised 1,000 rand, whatever the case may be, you know, kind of how AfriForum works, kind of like how our churches work with tithes, how Stokvels work, how so many different things work. They just went to fundraise from different people. They eventually raised the money and they bought this piece of land and they started moving people there. Very small group of families moved because everyone else thought people were crazy. And from, I'm not sure when, they started off very small, few hundred families, if not people. Got to a point, I think, in the early 2000s where they were like 1,500 people. And now they're currently on 3,000, close to 3,000. And they're trying to build capacity for 10,000 people. And they've grown from 800 hectares to 10,000 hectares. Even the ownership structures are complex, and we didn't even get to them because it's not owned by one person. It's not owned by one organization. It's not like in Ngonyama Trust under the Zulu Kingdom and Umiso Zulu, which has 2.8 million hectares in KwaZulu that is under the custodianship of the Zulu King. So it's not like that. It's different structures. Other people, from what we were told there, bought pieces of land and wanted to add those pieces of land to the ORANIA movement and the vision. So it's a polarizing piece, but it's for us to just share our experiences, and there's so much more to unpack. But I was just telling you the story up to when we got to lunch. Need to give a quick shout out before we speak about lunch and the great Dominee Bain that we spoke to there. Meneer Peter Bischoff, who's involved with the development and the vision, the spatial planning, town planning, which is something a lot of us as ordinary South Africans struggle with in informal settlements, rural villages, and townships, and even in suburbia. They have built this plan of where the schools should be, where residential should be, where businesses should be, which is pretty dope. And they've got this vision. They showed us the plan. Meneer Peter Bischoff, pretty dope gentleman. We were also given a tour by Tiens Vessels, who's in charge of the, Phalanx, I forgot what it's called, but it's their safety center. There's an ambulance. There's something for people that are potentially going to drown. They've got 2 boats for the dam. They've got a firefighting unit. There was a lady who was in a car accident and they had to get jaws of life. They've bought their own jaws of life. A lot of those things have got off-grid energy, by the way, and they've built their own clinic. They've got their own doctor. They were even explaining to us that for a private health care institution to exist, you need at least 6,000 people in that area for it to be approved. And because they only have 3,000, it doesn't work. But the people, it's almost like their own medical aid scheme. The people pay like a little amount every single month so that they can fund their own doctor, their nurses, their medical center. And they've got a helicopter a helipad, where they make sure that the patient is stable, that the person's fine. And then the nearest hospital in Kimberley, Bloemfontein, they come through with the helicopter and they take the person.
This question is probably.
And you know, when it comes to the communities doing their own things, this is why I used to say that we as black people, we need to see what is happening in ORANIA and try to emulate it in our own communities. The reason I said this is because the day people started doing the things they are paying the government to do by themselves, it is the day the people will start voting right. If people will fill up their potholes by themselves, if people will have to clean up their own communities and get rid of these illegal dumpings, these people, man, they will start voting right. They will start seeing politicians different. People will start valuing their own communities and say, why are we putting these people in offices whereas we are living in such conditions? The reason why people do not even value or see exactly what is happening in ORANIA is because people in their own communities, they do not love their own communities. So they don't have love for their own communities. So they don't do these things for their own communities. This is why when you come to our communities, most of the time, you will find open sewages and illegal dumpings all over the place. You will find the young children smoking. You will find that there are no sports ground, none whatsoever, because no one is actually invested into the community. No one is saying, guys, how about we clean that field so that our children can play safely? Guys, how about we get rid of these illegal dumpings so that our children can be safe? Guys, how about we start patrolling our own streets? How about we have a small fund for the people who will be patrolling our own streets to make sure that we are safe? The day people start doing those things by themselves, it is the day they will understand how useless politicians are. But because we don't want to do these things by ourselves, because we still want politicians to do everything for us, we are still delegating our problems to the politicians. This is why we don't even want to see what is happening in ORANIA. This is why we don't even want to learn about what is happening in ORANIA, because when you look at what is happening in ORANIA, the people of ORANIA, what they are doing, you look in our communities, the people in our communities, and what we are doing is completely different day and night. So it is hard for the people who are not even cleaning up their own communities to understand what it takes for people to clean up their own communities. The day people start doing these things by themselves, it is the day they will start understanding that we cannot pick you just to go to the office to enjoy the air conditions and withdraw a fat salary. We are not going to pay you to sit in that air-conditioned office only for you to draw a fat salary at the end of the month. We need you to work for us, because just imagine, man, whoever will be, just in concept, whoever will be the leader of ORANIA, man, that person will have to work for the people of ORANIA. Whoever will try to open up a political party, I know a political party will not succeed in ORANIA, but for just for an example, whoever will want to open a political party in ORANIA, I mean, that person will really have to work for the people of ORANIA, because the people of ORANIA, they are not depending on anyone. The people of ORANIA, they are self-sufficient. They know how to clean up their own communities. They know how to close their own potholes. They know how to keep their communities safe. All of these things, they know how to do them by themselves. So if you want to come and say that, guys, I can do these things for you, I mean, like, it's going to be hard for anyone to campaign in ORANIA. It's going to be hard for anyone to campaign in ORANIA. And for us, we need to make it hard for politicians to campaign in our own communities. The day we start doing all of these things by ourselves, it is the day that we're going to have high standards for people who want to go into office. We're going to have high standards for people who want us to elect them to draw the fat salaries. We will have high standards. But because today we are not doing these things, because today we are delegating all our problems to the politicians, we don't even have standards when it comes to the politicians. That's why we keep electing these people who are turning our lives upside down. But as long as these people are black, it is fine. As long as these people are black, it is fine. Guys, we need to learn from ORANIA. We need to learn from ORANIA. I don't know how many times I'm going to come on this platform and say that, guys, we need to learn from ORANIA. We need to emulate what is happening in ORANIA. We need to start cleaning up our own communities. We need to start patrolling our own streets. We need to start making sure that things are working within our own communities, because we can see that the people in the government, they don't care about our communities. And those people who don't care about your communities, they care about their communities, because most of these politicians, where they live, you will not even be able to get in. Most of these politicians are living in places like ORANIA. You will not be able to get in. Those communities are gated communities. They have security guards almost at every entry point. They have security guards. So how are they different from the people of ORANIA? If they complain about the fact that the people of ORANIA, black people, will not be allowed to enter the streets of ORANIA, do you think right now black people will be allowed to enter the streets of Sandton, to just stroll around in the streets of Sandton, just to look at the mansions in the streets of Sandton? Man, they are not going to allow you. Many communities in South Africa, the gated communities, they will not allow you to get in. If you want someone, the security guard is going to be like, okay, I'm going to call that person and confirm that person that such and such is here, they want to see you. So how are they different from what is happening in ORANIA? So they basically enjoy living like the people of ORANIA, but they don't want you to live like the people of ORANIA. Why is it so hard for people to understand that? That politicians, you will not be able to get in like, do you think that right now you can simply walk and pass the house of Cyril Ramaphosa? Politicians will not, they enjoy living like the people of ORANIA. So why are they so against what is happening in ORANIA if they themselves enjoy living like the people of ORANIA? This is why I always tell people that, guys, I mean, the identity politics and racial politics are dangerous. Identity politics and racial politics are dangerous, more especially to the people of South Africa. The people of South Africa, I mean, they are easily gaslit. The people of South Africa, they are easily manipulated. It is dangerous for the people, for politicians to play this racial and identity politics in South Africa, because these people are not educated. It is not hard for you to gaslight them into not think. This is what politicians are doing. They've managed to gaslight black people not to think about anything. They've managed to gaslight black people to think that talking about ORANIA or thinking about ORANIA or trying to understand what is happening in ORANIA, it means that you are a sellout. You know, they have these terms for everyone who practice self. You know, if you are an independent thinker, they have all of these terms for you. You know, yeah, my name is Thomas Manage, so I like it when they call me Uncle Tom, but they call me Uncle Tom. They call me Uncle Tom. This is what they do, simply because they don't want me to stretch my mind, simply because they don't want me to be open-minded. This is how black people are being treated in their own communities the moment they start doing the things that the custodians of black are against. When will our people learn, man? When will our people learn?
Again, the question is around unforeseen events like COVID emergency. SA asked funds globally, ORANIA, what did they do to sustain themselves during COVID? Did they borrow money from SA? Guys, ORANIA doesn't need anything from us, from the rest of Africa. They need...
People don't understand that, man. ORANIA does not need anything from us. They don't need anything from our government. Our government is not helping ORANIA with nothing. Why should these people borrow money from South Africa when they have their own savings? Why should these people borrow money from South Africa? These are people, man, who are simply trying to say that, yeah, they don't want the South Africans to enter their lands, but they are okay with borrowing the money from South Africans. This is basically what they are saying. But the people of ORANIA, they don't need the South Africans for nothing. They don't need the South African government for nothing, because these people are hard workers and they pay for everything by themselves. They pay for everything by themselves.
It doesn't need anything from us, from the rest of Africa. They need nothing. Right now, even with the Oriso, so they're saying, already, like, they are, like, 35% off the grid.
30%. Orasol, Orania, solar.
Solar, yeah.
They're solar farm.
And they said by end of April, they're going to be 60% off the grid,
Because they're getting a battery.
And again, I'm thinking by the end of the year, they are the ones that are going to be putting power back into the national grid. So by the end of the year, ORANIA is going to be 100% off ESCOM and is going to be putting energy back into the grid.
Hey, I don't know at the end of the year.
Didn't he say September?
Hey, I'm not sure.
Okay, whatever the dates may be. But I know they said by the end of April they'll be 60% off the grid. To a point where they're going back to COVID and borrowing money, they need nothing from the government. They need nothing. They don't rely on the government for emergencies, because now they've got the ambulance, they've got the doctors. They don't rely on the government for bricks, there's nothing. And on top of that, while relying zero on the government, they still pay taxes to the South African government. So you're relying zero, no electricity, no street lights by the government that are built there, no stop streets by the government. So they rely zero financially on the government, and they still pay taxes to the government. So you need to understand that.
Let's go a couple of steps back. South Africa became a British colony. And before that, there were Portuguese settlers, people like Vasco da Gama, Bartholomew Diaz, and others. And then it became a British colony, and then after that, the National Party with Afrikaners took over the government. Black Africans didn't rely on a government for foreign aid and money and those things. We did things ourselves. We had our own livestock. We had our own farms and crops. We built our own homes. We obviously didn't have like fancy things to build roads and those things, but we took care of ourselves. ORANIA is something like that, just with technology. But because they clean their own homes, because they build their own homes, because they grow their own food, because outside of the commercial farming, they also have their own vegetable and fruit gardens, because they teach their own children, all those cool things. They don't need money.
There's no franchise stores there. There's no Pick and Pay or a Spar. It's local economy.
Yeah, so they don't need money the way that we need money. Secondly, because they do a lot of things themselves. A lot of the money that is borrowed by the South African government is for, number one, social grants and social welfare. So a big chunk of the money goes to paying grants to close to 29 million people today. People that go to schools for free. The teachers need to be paid. The schools, the infrastructure. People that use free clinics, free hospitals need to pay.
There's no government clinic there. There's no local police station where SAPS in the town. They have their own private security.
Yeah, sometimes the police in the area actually ask them to help because they don't have capacity. So
they have to now utilize their own resource to go to the next town where the South African government is meant to maintain. Now they're asking these guys to go out of their way to go assist.
Yeah, so they don't need help like us. Where you don't have money, in terms of ingenuity, you do things yourself and you make it work. And after doing that, you also sell. That's why they have an economy that exports. So when they're not exporting, it's like, okay, that money is not coming in, but we're going to carry on doing the things that we do. And it's okay. And understand, even during the COVID pandemic lockdowns, it was 2 years. There were a lot of ordinary South Africans outside of ORANIA that were surviving without money. Some people got retrenched and they made it work. Some people moved home. Now you move home to a place where it's a township. It's a place that your parents have paid off. There's minimal cost. That's what these guys have mastered. Running a town on minimal cost where they do a lot of the work themselves. They don't need government to clean the streets. They don't need government to pick up their refuse. They don't need government for all these things. Therefore, they don't need to loan money for a lot of these things. Oh, mine just ended. Your live video ended, but yeah, you can share it and then create another one. Yeah, I don't know if you want to say anything or if I must carry on with lunch.
I mean, like this is what I've been saying the whole time. This is what I've been saying the whole time, that, man, you know, we rely on these people, man, we rely on these people to do a lot of things for us. We rely on the government to do a lot of things for us. We rely on the government to do a lot of things for us. And that's why it is so easy for us to listen to these people from the government whenever they say that, guys, ORANIA, you can never learn anything from ORANIA. That's why it is so easy for us to simply hate on what is happening in ORANIA, because we are not practicing what the people of ORANIA are practicing. Man, if our people can start taking care of their own communities the same way the people of ORANIA are taking care of their own communities, man, I can tell you, black people would not want anyone to roam the streets. Black people will not want anyone to roam the streets, man. If we can start patrolling our own streets, if we can start cleaning our own streets, we would be protective of our own streets. So are you even surprised that the people of ORANIA, they are protective of their land? Are you surprised of that? I am not surprised of that. These people are doing everything by themselves. They are keeping the place safe by themselves. That's why they don't want every single Tom, Dick, and Harry walking around in the street. They don't want people they don't know walking in the street, because they know they are doing everything by themselves. They told me that there is nothing to learn from ORANIA, man. They told me that there is nothing to learn from ORANIA. So, guys, this is the small documentary from the Morning Shot, showing exactly what is happening in ORANIA, showing some pieces of what is happening in ORANIA, man. So I'm going to play this video especially for the people who haven't seen what is happening in ORANIA. I know that many people, they don't know nothing about ORANIA. They simply hear about ORANIA from the politicians or on the news. People haven't even took time to simply go on the internet just to watch these videos to see how ORANIA is like, man. We know that chances are, man, I used to think that those people in ORANIA will never welcome me, man. But after welcoming Penuel, his team, man, those are a bunch of black people, man. So those people, they need to open up the doors so that I can come and do a podcast there. They need to open up the doors, man.
Alright, so here we are at the entrance to ORANIA. So this is the entrance to the village. This is ORANIA West or East, I don't know.
This is the residential area.
So this is the residential area of ORANIA. So it's behind us here. Here is the main road through ORANIA. As you can see, there's trucks and all sorts of things. It's a provincial road, so a lot of people come through. And then all the way on the other side are businesses and shops and sort of the main business district of ORANIA. So we're going to head into the residential side, see the school, see the monuments, and hopefully meet a few people along the way. So interestingly, apologies for the light, I mean we are real journalists here. Byron,
On the ground floor.
have you noticed every single person waves?
Every person we walk past or drive past, always like, hello. Yeah, it's very, very, very friendly. Far more than I was expecting. I thought that, foreigners weren't welcome here.
Yeah, so everyone waves, everyone says hello, everyone speaks Afrikaans. They speak a bit of
Well,
English.
some people speak English with us when we speak it.
Yeah, but they're very polite. Everyone's very polite. It's a nice change from most of South Africa. So we are still here in the suburbs, but what you realize about ORANIA is there's no richness here. There's no opulence. There's no sense that this is an inclusive, exclusive enclave. The average house is fairly modest. The average car is fairly modest. You don't see Range Rovers or anything.
And there are no potholes there, man. There are no potholes there, man. There are no potholes.
Like that. It really seems to be a community of working / middle class people trying to make things work. Nothing more, nothing less. There's really no sense of elitism or snobbery whatsoever.
No, you would typically find a suburb that's a Gulf suburb. The houses there are more opulent than the houses here. This is a distinctly low to middle class housing estate. But according to the architects in Orania, that's by design. And the reason for that is because they're not trying to create an exclusive Basi enclave. They're creating an enclave of working class South Africans that are just trying to get along and find their sense of order in the chaos that is the modern South Africa.
So here,
Get the new Galaxy A05s.
They say there's nothing for us to learn, man. They say there's nothing for us to learn. So shout out to Penuel, man, and shout out to his whole team for going to Orania, man, to see how things are happening in Orania. I cannot wait to watch those interviews. I hope they did a couple of videos there in Orania, man. I know some people are going to criticize me that Thomas, no, those videos were made by the guys of the morning shot and those guys are white, so of course. So Penuel, please, man, please drop those videos of yours, man. I was hoping that Gittin Mackenzie was going to drop those videos where they went to Orania, man, just to show people what is happening in Orania, because I can tell you that many people, man, if they can start watching these documentaries, people will say, man, I would love to live in a place like that. Let's be honest, man, as South Africans, wouldn't you love to live in a place where there is no unemployment rate? As a South African, wouldn't you love to live in a place where there is no crime? As a South African, man, wouldn't you love to live in a place where there is no crime? I mean, these people there in Orania, they are going to the holidays, man. They are not even locking the doors. This is what our grandmothers used to tell us about apartheid, man. My grandmother used to tell me that, man, you know, back in apartheid, man, it was so safe that we could literally sleep outside and nothing would happen to us. We could go to tennis and we could go to Bloemfontein and not even lock the doors and no one would even enter because that's how safe it was. But today, the thugs, man, are breaking down your butler doors. The thugs are breaking down your windows. They don't care that you are inside the house. They don't care that your whole family is inside the house. They are getting in. They are getting in. So South Africans today, they want exactly what is happening in Orania, but they don't want to learn from what is happening in Orania. They want what is happening in Orania. People are talking about crime. They don't want crime within their communities. People are talking about unemployment. They don't want unemployment within their communities. So why are these people not learning from Orania and how Orania is getting hold of crime and unemployment? Why are people not learning from Orania? Orania is a template. It's there. It's a template. It's there for us to learn. So people want people want what is happening in Orania. People want what is happening in Orania to happen in their own communities. But they don't want to acknowledge Orania and say that, man, those people in Orania, they got it right.
in front of us is the industrial area.
That's it.
And how many factories and businesses are in the industrial area?
You'll see now. There's quite a few. I don't know exactly how many, but there's quite a few. This first place this is actually amazing. This guy started off with absolutely nothing quite a few years ago. He employs a lot of Iranians at the stage. He's got a magnificent transport company, huge fleet. He sells building material, and of course, I think his recipe was neatness and hard work. And if you look at it and you think of it, it's a transport company. It's always as neat as a pin. And then there's a few companies here on the right hand side. This is like a hardware store. There's lawyers here, estate agents. There's a mechanicing side. You name it. There's quite a few places.
And guys, can you see how modest those offices are, man? Those offices are modest, man. I'm telling you.
Once we go past the entrance, you'll see how many places are inside. Our community services are even there. A place that specializes in paint. This bathroom place. It's huge. And then here we have a place that works with steel. That's a Rembrandt steel. He chose the name because he feels he's an artist as far as steel is concerned. He uses a laser and he does a pretty good job.
The next step we took is we put up a solar installation.
So where is the solar farm?
It's just in town, but it's on the north side of town.
And how many panels roughly?
There's 1,190.
So 1,000.
I mean, like, those people are so used to doing things by themselves that they are not going to wait for the ANC government to quote unquote fix ESCOM. Our communities are waiting for the ESCOM, are waiting for the ANC cadres to fix ESCOM. We know that the ANC cadres will not fix ESCOM, but for some reason people are waiting for ANC to fix ESCOM. The people of Orania, they are doing everything by themselves. I wish for black people within this country, man. I wish for black people in this country can start doing the things by themselves. I wish our people, man, can start doing things by themselves. I wish we can stop relying on the government. I wish we could stop listening to politicians. For once, we can stop listening to politicians and say, guys, we need to do what is best for us. We don't need to do what is best for politicians, because politicians will always divide us. Politicians will always make sure that we are divided, because if we are divided, these people are relevant in our lives. I wish one day black people will able to do things by themselves. I wish one day black people will start saying, man, let's take care of our communities. Let's start making sure that we have fields for our children to play. Let's start making sure that we have people patrolling the streets so that everyone is safe. Let's make sure that the people who have the skills can actually be utilized by the communities. You know, a lot of people within our communities, they know how to do the plumbing. They know how to do the plumbing, but no one is actually compensating them to do this plumbing, man. As black communities, I wish we can start raising the funds so that we can use these people with the skills within our communities. These people are here in our communities. When you see the open sewages in the townships, they are people who know how to fix those issues. But for some reason, people are waiting for the government to come and fix those issues. And the government, it is not coming to fix any of those issues. I wish our communities, we can start having our own funds so that we can start taking care of our own communities. Because the day we start taking care of our own communities, it is the day we will realize how useless these government officials are. I wish we can start emulating what the people of Orania are doing, man. I wish we can do that. We live with open sewages, man. We live with illegal dumpings. There are many people within the communities. These people, they have the vans, they have the buggies. Like, these people can actually be compensated by the community to clean our own communities. As communities, we need to start having funds so that these problems that we are facing today, we can start taking care of them. Now, most of our communities are dark. The Apollo lights are dark. They are no longer working. But no one is saying, guys, how about we donate 20 rand each so that we can start buying these Apollo lights, so that, you know, when it's lighter, the crime rate goes down. When it's lighter, the crime rate goes down. How about we have the fund so that we can pay the people who are patrolling our streets each and every day? This is the only way as black people, man, we can start getting ahead. If we are going to sit here and play racial and identity politics and listen to politicians at every single turn, our lives are not going to change. Black people need to understand that if we are going to sit here and listen to politics and play this racial and identity politics every time, our lives are not going to change. We can say whatever that we want to say about Orania. You can say those people are racist. You can say whatever that you want to say about the people of Orania, but they sleep good at night. They know that criminals are not roaming the streets. They sleep good at night. They know that their children are waking, and they are waking. They sleep good at night. They know that we are making plans for our people to live comfortably in our own communities. What are we doing? What are we doing? I honestly wish, man, we can start emulating what the people of Orania are doing, man. Honestly.
890 solar panels,
So
yes.
just under 1,900. And
Yes.
they're 450 watt
Well,
panels?
445, so it's 841 kilowatt peak.
Okay, so you're just under a megawatt.
Yes, just under a megawatt. This plant, together with the roof installations, generate approximately 30% of Orania's energy needs, electricity needs. Now the next phase we're planning, we first wanted to just upscale our generation, but the next phase we're planning is because of Eskom's troubles, Eskom's death spiral. It's a bad word, but it's that's what's going on. Our next phases were what did it say? They were brought forward. We were planning them later along the
Your off-grid plans had to be brought forward.
Yes, because
is
so
bugging out.
So you just told us about this last night. You said your next phase was to have the solar panels, but now you're shifting that to storage and then doing the panels.
Yes.
Because
we're putting on. We plan to put on a 4 megawatt hour battery, And the main purpose is to get rid ourselves from load shedding from 6 o'clock in the morning, 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. at night.
Which is the economic hours.
Yes,
So that's the
where
rationale.
production, building, living, cooking, what is swatting for the students and
Studying.
studying for the students, and a lot of the entrepreneurs is doing their admin at night, at night time, and if we can sort that hours out, it would be a huge step forward for economy in our town, and it's a huge contrast to the rest of South Africa.
So Orania may be a small town, but it has quite a lot of things, as evidenced by this board right here. So you can see a sport complex, a swimming pool complex, a monument, sport fields, all sorts of things.
That's a very traditional Afrikaans sport. And this is where a hostel where the students stay. It can accommodate about 220 students.
We bought this house, so I'm planting things for whenever I manage to move here.
Oh, lovely. So this is your holiday home in Orania.
I rent it out and I just visit here. I'm staying with my dad.
Yeah.
He is retired here 25 years ago, and then I work over here.
Lovely. So what would you say the big differences between Pretoria and Orania are?
Crime is a big factor, I think. I got about 7 messages from the armed response in Pretoria this morning when I switched on my cell phone, and another 10 from my wife on her way to work. So yeah, it's a different atmosphere. It's you feel safe.
Yeah, it's very chilled out here. I mean, we've noticed already walking around that people are walking the streets and waving at us. We were just commenting it on camera, and so it just seems everybody's like really friendly.
Chilled and a bit more laid back.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
So is the goal for you to retire here one day?
Yeah, I'm also farming pecan nuts from Pretoria, managing it from a distance. So I use all my leave to do some farming to catch up on whatever has gone wrong the past 2 or 3 months.
Are you sick of
I don't like the adverts, man. I don't like the adverts. But I still feel like there's a long way for us, man. I honestly feel like there's a long way for us, especially as black people in this country, man. With this kind of mentality that we have, I honestly think there's a long way for us. And I'm saying this because every time when I come out and talk about these things, there are people who will come out and say, Thomas, now you are just being an apologist. Now you are just shielding for white people. You are shielding for those racists. And these are kind of people who are actually holding black people back. Because people, they don't want to be cast out as sellouts. People are scared of being called names. So people do not even want to learn, do not even want to think about how they can learn from the people of Orania, because you have people outside here, man, telling you that if you are a black person, this is how you need to think. You need to think in this way. And I think for people to expect, or for some of these black custodians to expect all of us to think the same way, it makes us look like a bunch of imbeciles. For you to expect black people to think the same way, it makes us a whole bunch of imbeciles. It's like we are animals, man. It's like we are animals. People, we need to be able to say we love each other as black people, and we need to be able to have different ideas. This is how we can move forward as black people. If we are not going to allow different ideas within the black spaces, then we are not going to move forward as black people. We are not going to move forward. So there are people, man, who are working overtime, making sure that the people of this country do not learn about Orania. People who are working overtime, making sure that the people of this country, they are gaslit about white people, they are gaslit about the people of Orania, man. Even right now in the townships, most of the people, they don't know that the people in Orania, they are paying the taxes despite them not getting the services from the government. So some of these people are getting the social grants that were paid for by the people in Orania, but they still have the audacity to go on the social media and to to talk bad about Orania. The people of Orania, they are paying for some of these people's sasakrans, but these people still have the audacity to go on social media to talk nonsense about Orania. And it shows you that the people are not learned enough. It shows you that people are not learned enough.
Sorry about the wind, but we are literally at the top. This is a hill to monuments, and well, basically it's they're building monuments and statues to people who sort of determine what Orania is actually about. So behind me is where we came from. This is the main sort of suburb that we were walking around earlier. There's the church right behind me over there, and over there is more of Orania, but that's sort of the town itself. It's really not big. As far as I understand, it's about 1.5 to 2,000 people living here, and what can I say? It's really peaceful. It really is peaceful.
Trees wise, we've planted more than 30,000 trees since we arrived here.
But I believe you've done that in a bit to try terraform the place and make it more eco-friendly to.
Yes, absolutely. But it gives life to the place, doesn't it? If you look at an aerial photo of Orania, you'd be surprised. It looks like an oasis. And of course, a lot of people are going for solar power. We've got our own solar.
Notice that.
We've got our own solar farm at this stage, so that's going to do extremely well. By next year, we'll be independent. We won't need Eskom anymore.
And Henny, when you arrived here, how many people lived here?
There was about, I think, 860.
When you arrived here?
Yes, when I arrived, 16 years ago.
Okay, 16 years ago. And now there's close to 3,000.
Yeah, it could be over. It could actually be over. I know that my friend, the doctor at the hospital, he's got his patient files there, or his family files, and that exceeds 3,200 family files. So that tells you there's definitely a lot more than 3,000 people in Orania at this stage.
Yeah, but I suppose you can't always control it, can you? Because people come and live with relatives and so.
No. They can't just come and live here with relatives. They still have to go through the process. Yeah. Now, the reason why we have this little guy that rolls up his sleeves, I don't know whether you know that. That's to tell everybody that we do our own work.
And even on their currency, you will see that person rolling up their own sleeve, man. I think it is very sentimental. Having that person rolling up their own sleeves, it shows you that we are getting to work.
We do not have anybody else do our work, whether it's nice work or not. We do all the work ourselves. But the big reason why we're here, it's not because we feel anybody is inferior or different. People are different. Different races are different.
Yes.
But the reason why we are here, because we are trying to protect our own heritage, our own culture, our language, which has been attacked just about everywhere. And but we do build very good relations.
So here is something you don't see in South Africa, but you will see in Orania. You see a bicycle. Notice, it has no chain whatsoever. It is, I could steal it right now if I wanted to, which I won't. But where else do you see that? A bicycle with no chain whatsoever. Just a question really, when you say that everyone does their own work, is there a duty imposed on Oranians to fix the town or something like that?
Well, let me put it this way. We don't have anybody else do our dirty work for us. If we have to, we built a brand new sewage farm.
Yes.
We did it ourselves with our own capital. We have a municipality that was given to us by the High Court. And it's the only municipality in South Africa that doesn't receive a cent from the government. Okay? So they have to rely on the levies of all the owners of properties in Orania to survive. And they do it pretty well. We have very good services. You can drink the water from our taps. It gets purified by ourselves. We've got this brand new sewage farm which has been built. And it works extremely well. That can accommodate the next 15,000 people, by the way.
Okay.
And of course, the same thing with the power. I'm glad to be here, to be honest. There's no crime here. Look how people can just walk the streets. No fear.
And how do you cultivate the trust amongst the residents of Orania? I mean, I know that there are requirements to get in, and is that where you can determine if someone is worthy, so to speak?
We can determine it to a big extent. We also have a police record of everybody and make sure people don't come here for the wrong reasons. We just want to make sure you know why you're here, and you must help to at least build the community. And there's a lot of community services to a big extent as well.
So what can you really say about Orania? There is this unrelenting optimism about what they are building, and I think that is the future of South Africa. Stop thinking about the macro topics, focus on the micro ones, like building your very own Orania.
Exactly, man. Exactly. People need to build up their own Oranias, man. Instead of taking Orania at every single turn, we just need to learn what is happening in Orania. We just need to see what is happening in Orania and start building our own Oranias, because I can tell you now, if we start building our own Oranias, man, we will never allow every single Tom, Dick and Harry to roam around in the streets, man. We will not have criminals within the townships. We would not have these people selling drugs to young children in our own communities, man. So guys, I don't know, man. Please tell me what you think on the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part, subscribe. My name is Thomas Maba, so I will see you next time. Bye bye.